Hello and welcome to Tune In with Talya. I hope everyone is doing well this evening. Thanks for tuning in. And I'd like to welcome a very talented, wonderful old friend of mine, Dan Nadel. Welcome onto the show.
Thank you, Talya. Great to be here with you
Good to see
and with
you.
everyone out there.
Yes, it's been a long time. I was just
Very
thinking
long time
when we
indeed.
first met, it was like, I don't even want to say. It was a long time ago.
We were trying to figure it out.
Yes, but you have been to my congregation in the past. You've guest accompanied and beautified our services in the
Oh,
past, and
thank
yeah,
you.
it's great to reconnect with you after all these years. And I want to just let people know a little bit about your background before
Sure.
we start. So, Dan Nadel is an Israeli born, New York based guitarist and composer whose personal style combines flamenco, jazz, and Middle Eastern influences. He is a band leader, a solo performing artist, and a collaborator with Tavche Gravche, his multinational Neo Balkan group. Since July 2017, Dan has been the music director for Congregation B'nai Jeshurun in Manhattan. I used to go there a long
Oh,
time ago.
yeah.
Yeah, when I was in the city many years ago. So, how have you been? How's life?
Wow. Uh, I don't know about your end. I've had a very interesting year.
Oh yeah, right?
What's happening on Long
Interesting to say
Island?
the least. Yeah, it's been quite
Yeah, it was
crazy.
interesting. Um, what's happening? Life, family life.
Yeah.
My wife and I have a 2.5-year-old daughter, so obviously, like what all parents to toddlers and children of all ages have been dealing with. It has its profound beauty of being around your kids for so many hours as they grow up and process,
Mm-hmm.
and also challenging
Yeah.
if you have other things to do, and even if you don't have other things to do, it's just
It's true.
a lot.
So she's been home with you this whole time.
She
This-
has,
Yeah.
and but it's this is like I hear this from everyone, is that we all can complain or kvetch
Yeah.
about our own little problems, but of course big picture is our family has been healthy, and we're very grateful for that, and we have a roof over our head and food to eat, so
Right. So you
doing
always,
okay, and even work, so as a
which is
musician,
awesome.
that's right.
Yes. Well,
Yeah.
I've been seeing your posts on Facebook and YouTube all through the year and always marvel at how successful you've been and how much music you've been putting out in the midst of a pandemic. I mean, that's pretty awesome.
Thank
So
you.
congratulations on that. And I
Thank
just
you.
always enjoy your music making. You're a beautiful artist and
Thank you, Tyler. Same to you.
thank you.
It's been a long time. Yeah, since we connected. Um, so what would you like to
I
talk
want to
about?
hear, first of all, how you're able to, well, I want to talk about all the technical stuff. But
Hmm,
before we get to that, I want to hear first about your childhood. So you grew up in Israel.
that's right.
Um,
My parents are Americans who moved to Israel
okay.
and met in Israel in the late 60s. So I grew
Days.
up speaking English with them, at home. But I lived in Israel till I was 22.
What part of Israel?
Uh, Middle near Tel Aviv.
Huh?
Was born in Tel Aviv, and then we grew up in a suburb. And I went to high school in Tel Aviv, it's performing arts high school, where like, just
Yeah.
that was the fortunate thing for me, so I could grow up with people who were already more advanced, and especially I was studying jazz, and people who were more advanced and already serious and disciplined about this music, and that was I got very lucky in that sense, and then my military service there, I was lucky again. I got to play in what they call the Air Force Band,
Oh, nice.
just set up like a jazz big band, and I was the guitarist for that group. So that's a very lucrative way to spend your military service in Israel, and it was a great school. It was just
Yeah.
it's just being on the job every day. You don't get paid, but it was a great school for learning a lot of how to function in a lot of different situations, how to sight read
Wow.
music in style, in the moment, how to deal with all sorts of characters, really the kind of work that people when they, go on the road, get to experience. So it was very good for that.
So you had
Yeah.
that at a young age, so it
Yeah,
gave you a
pretty
good
young.
education for what to expect in the
Seems like yesterday.
yeah.
And then a year later I came here.
Okay. Cool. And are your
Yeah.
parents musical? Did you come from a musical background with your
My parents per se, not so much.
Mhm.
They love music. So I was exposed to music at home. There was music, some music playing, um, but not a tremendous amount. And we had a piano at home. My mom would sit down and sometimes play a little bit of classical music that she studied as a kid, but it wasn't, you wouldn't say that it was like the music was all around. And
Mhm.
I mean, my parents were, I can use the word, this was not their first choice for me.
So did you say one day when you were little, I want to study guitar, I want to be a musician?
Totally. And that's
Yep.
exactly it.
You
When
just
I was
said,
three,
yeah. Three.
I
Wow.
said I want a guitar, and
Yeah.
no, and I think they could. I
Mhm.
was a very serious kid, and
Mhm.
they could sense the danger. And finally, I just said I want a guitar, and they took me to I remember a music store when I was 5 or 6, and the guy said my fingers were too small or something. Anyway, when I was 10, I finally got a guitar.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I knew.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I think kids know at a young age. Like I can tell that my
Yes.
little one, he likes drums. Like he beats on everything. You could tell that's in him. My daughter
Totally.
once has already asked me for piano lessons and sings all the time. So the
Wow.
music is alive in
How
my
how
house.
old are they?
4.5 and 2.5, or almost three.
2.5. She's the younger one. Two and
He's
a
the
half.
older one. The older one
Oh, okay.
wants to sing and play piano, and
Okay,
the
I
younger
see.
one is
Yeah,
beating
yeah,
on
yeah.
everything.
Yeah, because my daughter, she's 2.5, and she's drumming on everything too. But we kind of
But
I
you're not sure.
indoctrinated her to that. We've been drumming with and on her from when she was born, so
Yeah. Aw.
that's understandable. Yeah, yeah,
So cute.
yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So who inspired you at a young age?
Oh,
Or tell us who your major musical
musically.
influences are.
So when I was 3, this is interesting because when I was 3, I remember seeing a black and white. This is the only memory I have almost of such a young age. And there was this duet of, I didn't know what it was at the time, but it was flamenco music. There was a woman singing and a man playing guitar. And that got stuck in my brain. And it's very interesting because it took me years to get into that music, to really get into it. But that was the sound that I always admired most and felt closest to.
Hmm. Interesting.
And yeah, and then when I started playing guitar, I played some classical music, and then I got into jazz. And so, big inspirations were just great jazz musicians from John Coltrane and Miles Davis, and guitarists like Wes Montgomery and George Benson and Pat Metheny.
Mhm.
And then when I was 30, I was a New York musician and working a lot of different styles, kind of a freelancer, and doing a lot of different things, and successful enough, but not really seeing where this will, where this is going to go. And I just thought really deeply, like, what's the sound I always really loved? What's the sound? And that was it.
Hmm.
So I said to myself, okay, like I'm not gonna be a musician, a miserable musician for the rest of my life. Like now's the time to make a decision.
Mm-hmm.
Like I got to a point, I
Right.
can do this juggling thing with lots of different musical styles, but I don't want to be doing that 20 years from
Right.
now
You
when
just
there are
focus.
20-year-olds coming to town. So what would be mine? And so I thought of this sound, and then that was it. I just dropped everything. I said, this is going to be my sound. Don't call me for anything else unless it paid like a lot of money, and then I would do it. And that's it. And so I said, I'll give myself a year, and we'll see how it goes, and people started calling me, and after a year, I went to Spain for a month, and I got very lucky. I got hooked up with this great guitar player, and he kind of took me in. We
Oh, that's
exchanged
great.
information. He was interested in more modern harmony, which I could share with him, and he was showing me very traditional flamenco stuff. And then at this point, it's what I do. This sound, I combine like flamenco sound with all what different styles of music that I love, and the ability to improvise and to understand, jazz and classical music and different genres. And then, so with musical influences, I mean, just the sound. I don't know if you know him, Paco de Lucia. He's just the greatest flamenco guitarist, ever. And it's he died a few years ago, but it's basically, he's so far ahead,
Wow.
even now, that it's even if I don't play his music exactly, it's always inspiring to hear him.
And you listen to him still all the time.
Oh yeah, yeah, all the time.
Wow. That's
In
very cool.
fact, when I was getting into flamenco, coming from such different guitar playing, like playing electric guitars, and I had to go on a strict diet of what I was listening to,
Hmm.
because my tendency was to fall back on the kind of phrasing, the kind of touch. If you sing a certain style for many, many, many years, or styles, and then you want to completely reinvent yourself, it's it's not a reasonable thing to do. It
It's hard
takes a
because I love
while.
so many different styles, and I feel like it's always been hard for me to choose one,
Mm.
and that's
Right. So I think I was in a similar place.
yeah.
But to really have a sound that people hear the sound and say, oh,
It's
oh,
like, oh,
that's what
that's
it
it.
is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Well,
So
that's how I
that's where I
associate.
wanted to go.
Well, yeah. I mean, I don't know too many other flamenco guitarists in my world, and whenever I think and hear flamenco guitar, I immediately think of you. Like, I remember Dan, and I love the way you play, and
Thank you.
especially also Ladino is very much a combination of the Jewish and the Spanish and the
Yes.
so
Yeah, it's a music that Ladino really predates flamenco, essentially. Flamenco is a younger music, but I think just some things are in there,
yeah.
and in fact, like, deep flamenco musicians in Spain always credit, like the Jews and the Arabs that lived in southern Spain there for leaving ingredients that then combine to make the soup of this music.
Interesting.
Hmm. Yeah.
Do you also compose in this style as well?
I do compose. I'm not, so that's the thing about what I do. I use the sound. I always study more and more traditional flamenco, with never with the goal of becoming a traditional flamenco guitarist, because that's really unreasonable, and not, it was never my goal. I
Yeah.
wasn't born there. I didn't grow up in a family like that. But using it as a dialect, as a vessel through which I can channel all this other stuff that I love. Different kinds of harmonies and
Right.
rhythms that might come from the Balkans, or might come from Latin America, or harmonies that come from modern classical music or jazz, or different things. But with this sound, this combination, which I think my hope was always that it would end up sounding very natural and integrated and organic. And I hope I'm I've getting to that point.
So you've been writing for a while now, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And how does what's your process like? Do you hear lyrics? Do you hear the melody
Oh,
first? Like what is your composition?
so I never wrote many lyrics. Oh
Okay.
my God, my picture just went fuzzy again. It'll focus. Hey, I'm
Give
here.
it a sec. You're here.
There's some
We
water.
still see you.
We'll swim through it. Um, so I don't write a lot of lyrics. My first language, I guess, it's English because of my parents, but growing up in Israel, I feel closer to Hebrew.
Mm.
So I dabbled in poetry, and I felt very dark and philosophical, but I don't really write pop music, or like music with lyrics. Once or twice I did that. So it's really all about, melodies, harmonies, and rhythms coming together. Um, and I'd say, starting from the melody, yeah, that's my starting point. I know people have
Yeah.
different ones, because harmony to me is, at this point, such a flexible vehicle. And I apologize to you and to the viewers about my camera at the moment. Not sure
No,
what's happening.
it's okay. No,
And
yeah, I don't have 2020 vision anymore. No, it's not bad.
But I'll try to stay in one place. Um, it's so flexible, you know. It's like cooking. It's like what spices are you going to throw on to
Yeah.
take it to France or to take it to India or to take it to the
Talya.
Middle East,
Or the
that kind of thing. And so doing it with harmonies is actually very similar to me.
mm-hmm.
Um,
Interesting.
so always starting with the melody and then kind of sitting with it and figuring out where does it really want to go. Yeah.
Cool. So you formed some groups over the years too, right? Little
Yes, yes. We even
trio.
brought one to perform at your congregation once or
Yes.
twice, I believe.
Yes.
So the most recent, we called it a Neo-Balkan group. It's called Tavche Gravche. And just gonna fiddle with this thing and see if we can wake it up.
Don't focus on it. It's really not bad. No, it's really
Okay.
not so bad. We want to hear more
Um,
about
yes, yes. So we had a band called Tavche Gravche. This is the most recent collaborative I've had. I've done many things since, but that's the recent collaborative. Collaborators are always challenging, a lot of egos, and none of the people here are 20 years old anymore or 16. And so we're all negotiating a lot in our lives, and it's hard to have a one focus.
Yeah.
So we had this. We usually performed as a trio with a upright bassist and a clarinetist who actually Vasco Dukovsky and myself on guitar, and we figured out how to put our sounds together using material that mostly from the Balkans or inspired by sounds from the Balkans, and that was an interesting challenge. We did quite a bit of work, recorded a couple of albums, and did a bunch of shows. Unfortunately, our clarinetist, this is before COVID.
Yeah.
Um, he's from Macedonia originally. He's been living in the U.S. He'd been living here for 16 years, and had some literally visa confusion. Like
I
this
know.
guy is like, of course, here legally, went
Right.
to school here, graduated from Juilliard with a master's degree, and if anybody needs more reasons to be upset about things that were happening here in the past 4 years, then he was in Macedonia waiting for his updated visa to arrive, and he got told that he was banned from entering the U.S. for 10 years.
I
So
remember
obviously a
that.
very
Yeah.
peace-loving individual, admired musician. So this was very troubling to many of us, but the bottom line is the trio cannot perform in the U.S. anymore.
It's so
And
sad.
then COVID hit,
I
and
know. It's like one thing after.
yeah, yeah. So we're, hopefully we can. He's in China now, and he's doing very well there, and he's already a professor at a university and teaching
Vasco,
clarinet. Vasco, we love you.
we love you if you're
So
watching this or
we're
not.
just hoping that
It's
he'll be
2016.
able to visit if we want to do performances, if he wants to see people here. Yeah. So that's the last collaborative that I was involved with.
But you are still able to do things online, I see.
So yeah, this is the interesting thing the past year. What we didn't mention is that one of the ways I've been able to support myself as a musician in New York City is because, and Talia, you're gonna forgive me, but I'm just gonna switch to my computer camera
It's okay.
and adjust it, and here we go.
Clear. That's good.
We'll just do that.
Okay.
Okay, that was the external camera. So the way I've been able to support myself to a certain degree, and to have some financial security is that over the years I've played at many, many different synagogues, progressive synagogues accompanying their services. Especially when I switched to playing flamenco guitar, I always thought the sound would fit really well, regardless of it's Ashkenazi community or not. And then I had always some financial security over the years. And I think about 4 years ago at Nate Jeshurun in Manhattan, a very large progressive community they always had a big focus on music. They asked if I'd like to be music director there.
Which is awesome.
So yeah, it was really great.
That's a big deal.
Yeah, I've been friendly with the main rabbi there, with Rabbi Roli Matanon for many years before. We even did some he sings really well. He's very interested in music, and we had done some musical collaborations before.
Hmm.
And and I think they all thought, the clergy there, that it can help take them in directions that they wanted to go in anyway. So that was obviously, at the time, an added layer of financial security with suddenly having sort of a job, which I'd never had before. But what it also meant was that when COVID hit, I suddenly thought, wait, like I can't do anything. How long are they going to keep me on the payroll
Right.
if I can't deliver anything?
Mm.
So this thing, we all learned about Zoom suddenly.
Mm-hmm.
And I spent the first few weeks, the first days were really, I not panic, but close to panic. We have a
Yeah.
kid. My wife was not working, and it's like, okay, what's going to happen? And then I started tinkering around with Zoom. I'm very fortunate to also work with a network of very interesting, musicians that
Mm-hmm.
I bring in to the synagogue, and so especially one of them, percussionist Satoshi Takeshi, great drummer.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
we were tinkering around together with what's possible to do with Zoom, and it took us a few weeks, but I think by April we were essentially accompanying services that were done on Zoom. So each member of the clergy was chanting from their home. Each of us was playing from our home, and we were able to accompany them
Oh,
in a way that became more and more seamless, which meant that by May, June, the synagogue started receiving emails and phone calls like, how are you doing this? What's the secret app? And can you share what you're doing? Of course, there was no secret app. We're using the same Zoom that Talya and I are on right now. Um, there's very few things that I'm happy to share, which most people know. We're all using professional microphones, like Talya is using now, using audio interfaces, which you can get for $100. Um, they were not using, but ideally people use. Is this interesting? Should I talk about this?
yes, this is.
Okay,
Keep
okay.
going.
Um,
A lot of musicians tuning in, so.
Yeah. So even if you think you have really good Wi-Fi, plug in using an Ethernet cable. And if you don't know what an Ethernet is, it's the old school cable that looks like a phone cable, like a
Okay.
landline cable.
Yeah.
Some people may have never seen one that we used to use for the internet in the old days, pre-Wi-Fi. And that is because it's a more secure connection. It's a faster connection. Um, and what else? And then Zoom itself has some settings that I think all musicians know about by now because some are teaching, but it's what they call original sound,
Right.
the original sound settings. So you can configure Zoom to just let a little more of your bandwidth come through, which means, because Zoom is configured for voices. So it just lets through sort of a sample of your voice that's very small and is minimized to allow many people to be on the stream together, right? So if
Mm-hmm.
you're trying to manipulate Zoom to let the sound of an instrument come through somehow, you need to increase the bandwidth that it's allotting to you somehow. So they've had these original sound settings, and they've gotten a little better about the sound, coming through more naturally. And it's the same thing for the microphone, the Ethernet cable. All of that gives you a little more of the natural sound of your instrument or your voice coming through. And I have a few videos that I queued up, and I'd be happy to show and talk about. And
Please.
maybe we'll start from there, and then we can talk about, wait, what's going on? How is this
Okay.
happening? So
Okay.
I just want to preface by saying, to those of you who have seen during the pandemic videos that, people that look like this video looks right now, the screen is split between multiple participants and everybody is in sync. Those are videos that are made track by track. Like one person records their part, another person records their part, and then an editor brings everything together and an engineer makes it all sound nice and balanced. And that's good for certain things. But if you want to actually make symbiotic music, which means Talya would sing and I would react and she would react to what I'm reacting to and the thing rolls along from there, there's only one way to do it, which is to actually do it at the same time. And the problem with Zoom, which I think most people have encountered because they've tried to sing happy birthday or something in a group,
Yeah.
is that we are not in sync. There's always going to be a delay.
Yes.
So how do you make music, especially music that has rhythmic elements to it, when there's a delay, a built-in delay from another participant to me, from me to the other participant? And if there's multiple participants, like more than two, there might be multiple delays within the same session. So just keep that in mind when you're hearing what we're going to play, and then
Okay.
Talya will be the question representative, the investigator.
All
Okay,
right.
so let's cue something up. This will be from earlier on, okay, and
Okay. Let's hear it.
a little more experimental. Okay, let's do it. Let's do it. Okay, and I'll show you this one.
Yada.
So this is a rehearsal. So maybe I'll pause there because we have a bunch of other videos to show. And to add, we're singing, Sheila is singing in Hebrew there. This is Sheila Avilbuch. She's a great singer that I get to work with, and she's Israeli American, and she was in Israel at the time.
Oh, wow.
So
Like a live thing. That's amazing.
So it's a live thing happening between Brooklyn and Israel. And if you think there's delay, in the New York City area or wherever you are between neighbors, like this is pretty intense. The delay would be, just to give an example, the delay would be something probably like that kind of difference. So something happening here, and at the other end, it's heard there.
Right.
So how do you make music with that? So first of all, the most elementary thing is that we need both our sounds to come through, which is a problem if you know, because if Talya and I both talk now, one of us is going to block the other. Same thing happens on a phone call. Most people probably notice this. So with the original sound settings on Zoom, multiple sounds can come through at one time. If everything is aligned correctly and it's not a bad internet day, etc., it's going to happen. So that's the most important thing. Then I think there's kind of a philosophical perspective. And this is what I thought about early in the pandemic. Like if you go to a museum and see a Cubist exhibition, statues or paintings, and you see you don't see, a hand and a nose and an ear and a face and a leg. You see a human, right? If you see something from Picasso's Cubist period, etc., you don't look at it and say this is some sort of weird alien. You know intuitively this is a human being. Why? Because there's enough about it that is familiar that our eye is translating it as art, but as a human, the image of a human. And something about Zoom is similar. Zoom isn't Picasso and I'm not Picasso, but something about if you embrace this experience, then you can actually make music in it. But you have to embrace it. You have to come from the perspective of, I know that we're not in sync. Our attempts to do something that feel in the same as when we are in the same space are never going to work. The harder we try, the worse it's going to sound. So what to do? First of all, you have to accept the delay and figure out what to do with it.
Mm-hmm.
So as a singer, you've probably experienced that you can sing, you can phrase in different ways. You can phrase in a way that feels right on the beat. You can also phrase in a way that feels like it's ahead of the beat, or you can phrase in ways that are behind, or you can just float around, right?
Yeah.
So that's essentially what this is.
Huh.
And a bunch of experimentation, but that's what it is. And a lot of listening to each other, because how to know if what I'm doing and what someone else is doing is actually creating a sound that someone at the other end listening is able to perceive as music. That's a tricky question. So you just have to develop a feel, just like we develop a feel for music in a real space together. You're developing a set of skills that are very close to what you already have, but they're a little different. You have to be able to feel that, oh, this actually feels good. Even though I don't know what's coming out at the other end, I think something good is going to come of this. And it just takes time and patience to be able to do it. And that's what kind of, it was funny to me when people were writing to the synagogue, to BJ, because the fortunate thing for me was that I got paid to experiment.
Wow. Yeah.
Right. And because I needed to deliver, I was just on it all day. Like, I better figure this out.
Wow.
And so I came up with something that wasn't based on anything anyone was doing, because I didn't know what else to do. I don't have a lot of computer skills. They weren't going into the same room live. And even when they started, like, I wasn't going to do it with COVID. So what can we do? I also felt that it represented the period well, everybody stuck at home at that time. How can let's embrace it. Let's show you can connect even through the distance. So that was the musical explanation, what I showed you before. And then I think another important thing is to say, if we can't all be super rhythmic together, we all have to accept that there is a pulse, just like we accept it in any form of rhythmic music. Everybody feels the pulse a little differently. No two people feel it the same. People feel a little ahead, a little behind, right? I'm not even talking about how they express themselves. I'm just saying that the feeling.
Uh-huh.
So just accept the same thing is happening here, but to an exaggerated degree.
Mm-hmm.
Now, how to deal with each other. So it's just with a lot of musical compassion and music patience and some planning until you get. I did this for the most part, not entirely, with people that I knew pre-COVID and that we had a lot of experience with. And I'll show a bunch of examples now, but I knew that to get it off the ground, I had to do it with people who trusted me and whom I trusted.
Makes sense.
because this is a friend of mine. We'll show her next. She's a great, great singer, Gabrielle Stravelli, and
Yeah.
she was saying this is like walking a tightrope,
Mm.
and it totally is.
Wow.
Totally is. You just have to have faith in the people you're with, that they're not letting go. She's not letting go, and stay on it, stay on it, stay on it, and it can be fun too. It usually is if it's
Yeah.
with the right people. So I'm going to show you a little bit.
Yeah. Let's.
Basically, we did basically a jazz concert. It was about an hour long. So this is one song from there. I just want to say that after we recorded, we didn't edit. We did add some reverb later. So just if people are saying, wait, how'd you get that sound? There's some reverb on top, but that
Okay.
doesn't change this synchronization. Okay,
Okay.
so let's go. Actually, that is the one that we have here. I'm going to pull it up here.
Oh yes.
And coming through?
Yes.
Great.
Make someone happy. Make just one someone happy. Make just one heart the heart you cling to. One smile that cheers you. One face that lights when it hears you. One man you're everything to. Fame, if you win it, that comes and goes in a minute. Where's the real stuff in life to cling to? Love is the answer. Someone to love is the answer. Once you found them, build your world around them. Make someone happy. Make just one someone happy. And you will be happy too. Make someone happy. Make just one someone happy. Make just one heart the heart that you cling to. One smile that cheers you. One little face that lights when it hears you. One man you're everything to. Fame, if you win it, that comes and goes in a minute.
Oh, I was feeling that. Ooh.
Sorry about that. We can share
That's
the
great.
links
That's
later to all
great.
of
Oh,
these.
she's such a good singer too.
She's amazing, and that's tenor player John Ellis on
Oh,
saxophone.
three of you. What a nice
Thank you.
combo.
And the thing was, like, we'd never done anything together. I hadn't played with John since we went to college together here. And I just remembered, like, he's got such an amazing sound.
Yeah.
And what I want to show you, I mean, if you have questions, please go ahead and ask before we go to the next
I just think it's
video.
amazing that that's live and you're all feeling each other and
So what I want to show you is
amazing.
maybe one or two sessions with people who are not professional musicians.
Okay.
I think that's important to see, and that there's still stuff you can do. That you have to want to sing, you have to be able to sing or play or whatever. So I want to show you something with my friend Zakai Ben Chaim.
Okay.
He's a Jew of color, and he always had this dream of bringing in melodies from the African American spiritual tradition and adapting liturgy. He speaks Hebrew, and so this was his dream, to really bring it all together. And a couple of years ago, we started, doing some things. And because of Najesh and because of BJ, I had an opportunity to do this collaboration.
Very cool.
it had its challenges because he's a single dad, and he's got his. You'll see his daughter popping in
Aw.
and out, and hearing her.
Real
But
life.
I think, but it was astounding to me how well he dealt with the Zoom situation. He's very intuitive, so I wanna.
Oh, let's see. Oh.
I want to see. Like, he's got some skills, like a musician. So let's go here and here, and I'm gonna. Here we go. Okay, there's a bit with John Ellis first. So I just edited bits from the entire performance. This is an African American melody. Here we go.
I'm mentioned now, and I believe, oh, I believe, I'm mentioned now, and I believe this is what he said. Amado Nalia. Altira of Deaco, a harmony, Beaco, Altira of Deaco.
I think this is interesting, just the instrumental interaction.
I feel better, yeah, so much better since I lay my burdens down. There are places we remember all our lives, though some have changed, some for better. Not forever, some have gone, and some remain. All those faces have their moments, lovers and friends I still can recall. Some are dead and some are living. And in my life, I love them all.
That's great.
Right?
That's great.
So I don't know. I have to say about him that he's in Florida now. So that was done. He was in Florida. John is in downtown Manhattan, and I'm in Brooklyn. And the craziest thing was that because, he's a single dad, life is not so expected, what you need to take care of. We rehearsed once for this. He was in the car. We had a Zoom session as he was driving.
Oh.
And that was actually amazing. I couldn't believe we were on Zoom.
Really
I don't know what was happening.
Wow.
And that's the thing. Some people have the ability, I think, just to accept this
little
discrepancy. It's discrepancy, I know this is happening here and I know this is happening here, but I have faith that we all feel that the rhythm is something that's in common.
Right.
And I'm going to have the faith to just go for it and believe that the person who's convincing them to do it, which is me, knows what they're doing and is able to cook something out of it. And some things work and some things don't musically. And for every session, no matter how good the musicians, some things, we rehearse and I say, you know what, let's drop it. Let's try it. The thing we did earlier with Gabrielle, that samba, we did Make Someone Happy as a samba. Like I had no idea that would work. And we tried it out and this is great.
Yeah.
Like a fast tempo. How is this working? So I don't know. Maybe I'll show one more. Let me pick something here. Let's see what we've got. Okay, maybe two more, but I'll show you. This is interesting because all the clips up till now had me as basically holding the groove, right? Mm-hmm. So this is different. We had to produce a video for Bnei Jeshurun, and they wanted to mark, I think this was in May or June, a year ago, almost a year ago. And it's kind of a milestone. They wanted to market an event for the community online, and they asked that we produce a video. And so we chose this song, Bridge Over Troubled Water. So you're seeing the singer that you saw earlier, Shira Abelbuch, and she's still in Israel at that point. And Satoshi Takeshi, a great drummer, and this is his wife, Shoko Nagai. So now you're seeing two participants in the same space. So they become the rhythm, they're holding the rhythm. And the two of us are floating a little bit. So I'm playing electric guitar here, which I hadn't done in years. Mm-hmm. So let's see. I'll try to find a nice point to start from. I think from about, let's see that, about here. Let's go.
When you're down and out, when you're on the street, when evening falls so hard, I will comfort you. I'll take your part. Oh, when darkness comes and pain is all around, like a bridge over troubled waters, I will lay me down like a bridge over troubled water. I will lay me
Now observe what happens here with like changing the baton rhythmically. From who's holding it.
sail, sail on by. Your time
Basically, I'm following the
vocalist to shine. All your dreams are on their way. See how they shine. Oh, if you need a friend, I'm sailing right behind.
Here we go.
Like a bridge over troubled water, I will ease your mind. Like a bridge over troubled waters, I will ease your mind. will ease your mind.
Yay.
Yay.
That was special. That was amazing. Yeah. How that worked.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Musicians. A lot of trust. And it's not, I have to say, I've been fortunate to experiment with this with a bunch of different musicians over COVID. And you wouldn't necessarily know whom it's going to work best with and whom not. Some of it has to do with a particular instrument.
Yeah.
But a lot has to do with just people's, how their imagination works. People's imagination works in different ways.
And I'm sure it has to do also with visually, with watching the person's mouth and watching the person's hands, and right? I mean,
a lot of that, but just a willingness to accept this abstraction.
Right.
Once you're willing to accept it and be like, oh, this is actually a wonderful thing.
Wow. Oh, and I love that arrangement of that song. It's great.
Thank you.
You did that arrangement?
Yeah.
It's great.
Thank you. I can show you one, well, I can show you a lot more. But maybe one more kind of crazy thing, because what happened during COVID was, I was like, well, maybe I'm going to try to do stuff without a singer. But that meant I would have to sing, right? If I'm going to hold the rhythm down and have
saw that video.
Singing. So should I show that?
Yeah,
show it.
Yeah, I was I was surprised I had not heard you sing.
Let me preface. I am not a professional singer.
But hey, it sounded great.
But thank you, Talya. So here.
Go down.
So we'll show this. What we're doing here is, I call this Wandering Song Ensemble, and we did a few shows with this online. And what the roots, whoops, where did we go here? Let me go again. The roots of what we're doing here are, it's all Middle Eastern and North African Jewish traditions of liturgical music.
Okay.
So here we go. This is Jay Gandhi on Bansuri flutes and Satoshi Takeshi again on percussion. And I want you to check out like what he's able to do on percussion, even if I'm holding the rhythm. Like that's really genius with the delay, what he's able to do. Anochi velo yeh, Anochi velo yeh, davar b'mikum mechayeh, haya hove v'yeh, u'hayashar v'hatov. גם פח הגפני אין עץ לימון, גם פח הגפני. As we're using the melody of Motherless Child for that.
השם ישמור, השם ישמור צאתך ובואך, השם ישמור צאתך ובואך, השם ישמור צאתך ובואך, מעתה ועד עולם, מעתה ועד עולם. שער אשר נסגר, אומה פתח חירות, ותבי אשר ברח, אליי של החירות. שער אשר נסגר, אומה פתח חירות, ותבי אשר ברח, אליי של החירות.
Nice.
Thank you.
I was trying to like see if I could match the with my body.
But it's interesting, right? Like it's very clear when the rhythm is there, it's very
Yeah.
clear. And somehow, they're still doing all this stuff over, it's a lot of focus, but it was fun. It wasn't like a mathematical exercise,
Yeah. No, it's
Just
just
have-
felt
yeah,
very
going
natural.
with it.
It was flowing. It was great.
Thank you.
Wow, you've been making music on Zoom. How cool is that? Yeah.
Yes.
Very, very.
And I'm waiting for this to be over.
Oh, aren't we all? Just get back there. Yes, let's just. You're gonna get there. The
Yeah.
light at the end of the tunnel. We can see it,
That's right.
right? So we've come this far.
Yeah.
I hope New York City bounces back soon.
Man.
Do you think it's gonna recover anytime?
Yeah,
well
I
from all
think,
of this?
it's New York. I think it's gonna bounce, I don't know about things like Broadway or things like that,
Might take a little
when
while.
that's gonna happen. And of course, what I do for my life is involves the dynamic energy between audiences and performers.
Right.
So I don't know. As nice as this feels to be able to collaborate and even to do a live stream show, which, a lot of musicians have done at this point,
Yeah.
a few people getting together, the audience is not in there with you.
It's not the same at all.
And it's not.
The
It's
energy.
just, that's the most important aspect.
I know.
I think people don't even know, like audiences don't even know, like that they're the critical sauce
Yeah.
for a performance.
Yes.
And so that I don't know when it's going to happen.
Yeah.
I don't, but I have to hope that large enough number of people get vaccinated and
Yeah. We'll get
Yeah.
there eventually.
we'll get there. That's right.
Gotta be patient.
That's right.
But in the meantime, keep doing this because
Thank you, Talya.
magic on the internet.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you.
This was a really wonderful hour.
Thank you. It's great to see you and great to be with you. Thank you.
Thank you. Nice to reconnect after all.
Definitely, for sure.
All right. Thank you all for
All right.
listening. And
Thank you.
thank you, Dan Nadel.
Thank you, Talya. My
And
pleasure.
tune in next week with me. Tune in with Talya at 6 p.m. on Wednesday. Ciao.